and welcome to A Shock the Fourth Wall! The season of fear is upon us again. The season of tricks and treats, of spooks and specters. There's a chill in the air as the orange leaves fall, a harbinger of the approach of Halloween. And it's time for some spoopy fun aside from that asshole in the supply room. So, what's different with A Shock the Fourth Wall from the regular show? Well, functionally nothing. You're still getting reviews of terrible comics, but it's good for marketing because it's a lot more memorable to say, oh man, I can't wait for this year's A Shock the Fourth Wall, than it is to say, oh man, I can't wait for Atop the Fourth Wall's Halloween episodes that feature, like, you know, scarier comics than normal. Branding, kids, because it's shorter to say. Time for our second year of covering Hellraiser Comics. What's that, gentle viewer whom I can't possibly hear? This is only the first? Well, technically not. While the 10th anniversary celebrations were meant to be follow-ups to everything I'd done before, I slipped in a Hellraiser review to be the first of our 3 years going into it. Sometimes I cheat like that. Before you get upset that I am depriving you of a full year of terrible Hellraiser comics, allow me to explain. The thing is, unlike Silent Hill, The Thing, or even Nightmare on Elm Street, Hellraiser has fared pretty damn well in comic form, with a much better track record of good books regardless of the company producing them. Not all good, mind you. I mean, we wouldn't be talking about them on this show if they were all great. But overall, Hellraiser has actually done pretty well for itself in the graphic novel realm. I mean, for crying out loud, the comic I covered last year, an adaptation of Hellraiser 3, a movie that is flawed at best, was considerably better than the movie for a number of reasons. So yeah, last year counted as our first year of covering Clive Barker's masterpiece, and this will be our follow-up. And if you still feel deprived, recall that a few years back, I also covered the Hellraiser Holiday Special, so you've still got some more of the requisite chains and Cenobites to make you happy. Plus an introduction on the Hellraiser franchise in general. But of course, while the focus is on bad comics, this year will likely have some more good than usual, because we're covering Hellraiser comics printed under Marvel's old Epic line. You know, the one that would eventually be resurrected so books like Trouble could be made. You can decide which is scarier, Hellraiser or Trouble. Epic's Hellraiser comics were, most of the time, anthology books, expanding the mythos of the franchise by introducing different kinds of puzzles, not necessarily the lament configuration, as well as exploring the idea behind Cenobites, their purpose, and a whole slew of recurring Cenobites rather than just Pinhead and whatever weirdos he's decided to work for him this week. A lot of them are very good! And just as many are Atkins, the Cenobite who's just some military guy obsessed with guns and shooting and being aggressive. Because when I think of the dark, hellish, demonic figures of the Hellraiser franchise, and the people who find themselves attracted to the lament configuration, wanting to experience sensations beyond what a mortal mind can comprehend, I think of Rambo, duh. So I decided, as a quick sampler of the regular anthology stuff from Epic Comics, we're gonna take a gander at the very first Hellraiser comic ever made. So let's dig into Clive Barker's Hellraiser #1 and see what sights they had to show us. Expect me to reuse that line a lot. It lends itself to this.
Crazy or not.
The covers for the regular series were very much like what we see here, a weird kind of skull wall pattern in the background, and then a portrait of what should probably have been the actual cover in a smaller box. And behold, the only time we're gonna see Pinhead this month. Yeah, seriously, none of the books I'm covering this October have Pinhead as a character in any of them. Maybe that's why he looks so pissed off. Or more likely, he was stopped yet again by his arch nemesis, David Spade.
Okay, let me take a look-see at the list. No Pinhead. Could it be under Nailhead?
We begin with the Cannons of Pain, also known as what happens when you play Pachelbel's Canon in the wrong key. We see a group of knights kneeling in prayer over countless dead bodies. Guys, I hate to say this, but I think the church picnic might have gotten out of hand. The Levant, the holiest of holy lands. Since the death of Christ, the site of countless crusades to return his artifacts to the true seat of civilization and learning in the world. Branson, Missouri. In the process, countless lives were lost, men and women left to die in the dust and sand so that his truth could be better known. It took them a while to realize that it was kind of hard to spread the truth to dead bodies. We cut over to Castle Carillion, where the lord of the castle is currently engaged in a crusade to return a holy shroud of a saint. Lady Carillion receives a visitor, Father Robitaille. While he's there seeking permission to celebrate the feast of St. Jude, not that they needed permission, but the people respect their family so much that they see their law as on par with God, but he's really there because of troubling dreams he's been having. Oh yeah, showing up to deliver a sermon completely naked. I get you, Father. He dreams that Lord Carillion will be returning to the castle soon, but that he'll be bringing back a great evil with him. The true origin of Furbies. Said lord is offering a prayer to God after their victory at a temple of some kind, but when he enters the temple, he just finds a puzzle box. He's distraught over this, and when he returns home to his wife, who wants to cuddle after almost 2 years away from him, he's still feeling pretty down about the whole thing. You cannot imagine the horrors I endured, the losses I sustained, and for what? A box. A mere ornate box, mentioned nowhere in the Gospels, and wholly without value. Not in the Gospels, but doesn't 1 Corinthians 13:13 say, and now these three remain, faith, box, and charity, but the greatest of these is box? My Bible might have a misprint. She tries to comfort him and offer an alternate interpretation, but he feels like he's lost and just walks off. Utterly devoted to him, Lady Carillion declares that she'll dedicate herself to finding a solution to this quandary. A year passes, and Carillion's lands and household have fallen into disrepair while she and Father Robitaille study the box, as well as several different religious and satanic texts. For to battle an enemy, one must first know him and his tools. We must study lots of reality television. She discovered what the puzzle box is, but believes its purpose is to summon the devil so that they can smite it. She does this, but the Cenobite that emerges states that he is, of course, not the devil. I do not lie. My pacts are far more binding. Behold, my end-user license agreement. Also, Cenobite, I think your fishing line might have caught something it shouldn't have. Nearby, Lord Carillion spots that the crucifix has gone upside down, which, by the way, kids, is not a sign of evil. An upside-down cross or crucifix is called the Cross of St. Peter. Google it. And runs off to investigate with a sword. It does not go well for him, as the Cenobite summons a bunch of swords to stab him to death. However, the Cenobite elects to take his soul instead of the good lady's, figuring his soul is close enough. Father Robitaille does his incantation and the Cenobite leaves. Later, the lady thinks this was all for naught and they should depart, but Robitaille thinks that was indeed the devil and that it was his incantation that forced it away. With his encouragement, the two embark on a crusade themselves, punishing women they think are possessed, burning supposed witches, torturing, etc. They get together, and Lady Carillion even becomes pregnant, deciding they need to directly attack Satan again before the child is born. And I will not bear my child into such a wretched world. Instead, I'll risk the mission and my baby's life by doing this before it's born. I'm such a smart person. The Cenobite reappears, wondering which of them he's taking this time. He denies once again being the devil and mocks Father Robitaille's faith, especially since holy water and the like don't affect him. There is but one all-pervading knowledge man has, one constant known by one and all. Linkara will never be as popular as the Bee Gees! No, he says it's suffering. And that is my stock, for which you will now trade. The exchange rate is $30 per suffering right now. Father Robitaille is crucified on an X-cross, and the Cenobite tells Lady Carillion it's time to leave. She begs for mercy. Mercy? Yes, I believe the day calls for mercy. I mean, it is Friday. I guess you should get a break. He says that one of them can stay and unleashes the soul of her dead husband on her, still carrying a sword. The story ends with a servant of the house hearing screams and going to investigate. Piety, it has been said, never comes cheaply, so it's best to get it used or refurbished. It is an imperfect world. Its price is often equal parts the good intentions of the righteous and the impurity of the damned. Taxes and other fees may apply. The choice between the two determines the path a soul will walk. Some choices may lead you to attach your lower lip to your nipple. This is not a good path to walk. And we see that what was left behind was the baby, lying next to the puzzle box. The heir of Carillion will walk a dark path indeed. But he'll still be rich, so he won't care. Our next story is Dead Man's Hand, and it's difficult for me to go into much detail because it's mostly just a game of cards. It's the Old West, and a mysterious stranger comes to a saloon seeking out a particular man, Jed Lawson. The stranger makes a bet on a single hand of poker. If the stranger wins, he gets everything Jed owns. If Jed wins, he gets the most valuable thing on Earth, putting the lament configuration on the table. We see that Jed has his bad moments and his good moments as the cards are dealt, but ultimately Jed wins with 2 pair. The lament configuration moves around on its own as Jed wins, and the stranger says Jed won and just takes the box away, proclaiming, "I said I would give you the most valuable thing on Earth, and so I shall, by taking this with me." And he just leaves! That's it! Everyone decides to go to church that Sunday after watching the game, sensing that something horrible could have happened, but otherwise, nothing bad happens. The hell was the point of that? Did the comic run out of budget to show some damn Cenobites? Don't get me wrong, it's an unexpected twist and probably one of the happiest endings to ever show up in any Hellraiser story, but it's just weird, especially for the first issue. It's even hard for me to riff on, there's so little material. Although, there is this line. The missus swears she could see inside that box the stranger brought. Says all kinds of ungodly creatures was waiting in there. So Cenobites are just Lego man-sized until someone opens the box? No wonder they're so messed up if they keep getting tossed around inside the thing. Our next story, The Warm Red, is definitely better off. A woman named Maureen is getting in on a deal to sell a bunch of land that's going to be used for an amusement park. All she has to do is convince the owner of the one farm on it, a man named Brian Rhodes, to sell. She arrives at the farmhouse where he greets her. "What do you want?" Did I say greets? I meant tells her to piss off. Brian has a puzzle box in his mantelpiece, and she idly plays with it as they talk. And we see flashbacks to someone, a woman at that, being bound by rope, and the narration informing us of how attracted Brian is to Maureen. The conversation goes in the expected direction. She tries to take advantage of him being alone and kind of naive about women, trying to seduce him while underselling the worth of his land, but still wanting to buy it off of him. And he drugs her lemonade so she passes out while topless, meaning I have to censor the rest of the story. "I said you should leave. I said you should." Lemonade's been doing that for a month now, can't figure it out. Really should stop offering it to people, but damn my southern hospitality. She's tied to a very bloody bed in the guy's house and reveals that he cuts himself whenever he's attracted to women, a practice his mother started him on because Brian is a messed up kind of guy. However, he is not going to torture her alone. He uses the lament configuration to summon a Cenobite, specifically Face, whom we last saw in the Hellraiser Dark Holiday special. Well, now it's just weird to see the demon who has a face stapled over his own outside of Christmas. This is his first appearance in the series, one of the few recurring Cenobites in the entire thing. Face describes being summoned to Earth. "The dissolution of my own flesh delights me. The chaos of cellular agitation, the cacophony of life, is replaced with the pure mathematical orbits of electrons, the harmony of crystal, the sweet music of the subatomic spheres. Pity the smell doesn't match that. It's like I'm always appearing in Brian's outhouse. Face is a bit irritated with Brian since it's been a while since he summoned him, and that he knows that he's passed up opportunities to summon him before. However, before Brian can make the first cut, Maureen speaks up and offers Face a deal. Face is intrigued and hears her out. Brian's a loser who lives far away from people and keeps to himself, but in 2 years with the amusement park, it'll be swarming with people, so she'll offer up as many as she can to him if he wants. Shut up, or I'll... You'll what? Kill me? Ooh, don't tempt him, Maureen. Guy like this, he'll probably make you read his screenplay. She said that Brian is weak while she has ambitions and plans and can deliver on what he needs. And Face is intrigued. He turns on Brian, but doesn't kill him. As he points out, Maureen could just be lying to save her own skin and can't deliver, so he's got an idea. Putting Brian in her position. For Brian, it will be a return to his childhood. For me, a diversion. For her, it's a test. For the maid, a very difficult cleanup job. And it seems she passes her test, as he instructs her to mutilate him and to use her imagination. And with a grin, she decides what she'll do, ending the tale. After a bizarre single page of art featuring 2 guys, one with a smile drawn over their hand covering their mouth. The hell you cut back to me for? I don't know what's going on with it. We have our final story, Dance of the Fetus. Just making a guess here, I'm thinking the Macarena. It's a weird one. A woman named Alice buys some meat from the butcher. There's silence for a few pages as she walks home in the rain with her groceries, walks up the stairs where she thinks she sees a demon or a Cenobite, but then it vanishes. Another false impression. How much longer must I wait? God, I solved the lament configuration like 3 days ago. Get with the hooks and chains already, dang it! When she enters her apartment, she spots some kind of weird hunchbacked Cenobite, though given the art style, I'm not sure if it's supposed to be hunchbacked or not, waiting for her on her kitchen counter, having eaten some of her food. It apologizes for being late, saying they were backed up. I've run this exact scene in my head so many times. I thought I'd know how to react when the time came. After the 210th time, I knew you were serious. I mean, most people call it quits on opening the box at 209. You're something special. He wants to know what made her want all this, and she just shrugs, not certain. And in a trippy sequence, he leaps into her mouth, she swallows him, then goes to sit in the bathtub with the panels showing us a straight razor and the occasional drop of blood falling. Starting to feel like Explorers in the Further Regions of Experience was just false advertising. Inside of her body, the Cenobite, I don't know, attacks her nerve endings? It's not exactly clear. However, the deeper it goes, it discovers a fetus. It asks the fetus if Alice is aware of it, and of course the fetus has no idea what he's talking about. This just won't do. There are regulations. I mean, what would it be like if we could just take anyone? You have to want to go. So that Cenobite in the first story wasn't being merciful, he was just following the damn protocol. What a tool. But yeah, the fetus has no idea what the hell he's talking about, or what hell even is, so he says that the fetus can't stay with her. No, we're not that cruel. I mean, one of our number has been helping a dude in the country torture and mutilate people who otherwise had nothing to do with summoning us, but we're not assholes. So yeah, he exits out of Alice through her mouth and tosses the fetus spirit, for lack of a better term, out of there. He tells it to leave, that he doesn't make the rules, and Alice seems to die, and so our comic ends with the fetus floating into the sky and transforming into a star? So it quite literally became a star baby? Was this the monolith Cenobite? But yeah, that's it. We get an afterword that teases future stories, another kind of nonsensical art piece, and that's it for the first issue. This comic is a mixed bag. As with any anthology, each story needs to be evaluated individually. The Canons of Pain is alright for the most part. It demonstrates for the purposes of the anthology that these stories can take place anytime, anywhere, and show off some pretty cool artwork. It's a bit weaker in the sense that it doesn't really draw the parallels I think it was trying to, with humans torturing in the name of religion versus torture in the name of the Cenobite's own purpose, but it's got some decent gore and is definitely putting forth some effort, and I like the twisted ending both of Mercy and in her husband delivering the blow. Dead Man's Hand, while having some great artistic layouts, particularly showing the cards being dealt, is really pointless. There's no gore, no Cenobites, nothing particularly interesting. Dude walks in with a puzzle box never opens. I don't get what they were trying to say with it. And you can do interesting stories that speak to the human condition or character development while doing something mundane like a game of cards. Twilight Zone has done it at least twice to great effect. But this was nothing. The Warm Red was very good, what I would expect out of a Hellraiser comic. A Cenobite, interesting plot developments, maybe even a human making a deal with them and showing how depraved they can be right back at the Cenobites. The art's not my favorite, but it's decent enough. Dance of the Fetus is just confusing. There's long stretches of nothing happening, no exposition about what the deal with the Cenobites was or why she was waiting for so long or anything like that. I enjoyed the angle that they had rules. They couldn't bring the fetus along because it didn't have a choice like Alice did. But what the hell that all meant is bizarre, not helped by the very stylized artwork that at times was unclear about what was occurring. It just wasted a lot of time on minutia instead of getting to the point, and it never really did. Although, not sure what I'm supposed to take with how the comic was bookended by 2 stories ending with unborn children being left behind by the Cenobites. Next time, we've seen Cenobites during the holidays and gotten a taste of the regular book, so let's give one last hurrah to the season that's gone with the Hellraiser Summer Special.
I don't think that'll be necessary for trick-or-treating. Unless it's your costume, in which case, I think you might want something less bulky to carry candy.
Not going, just getting ready.
What are you talking about?
It's Halloween again. I'm just waiting for it to happen. Well, what to happen? For whatever to happen! It's like this every year, guys! Evil Otherworld invades our dimension! Psychic Minecraft screwing with my perception of my own life, leading to dark revelations! Ghosts attacking! Evil Mirror Universe version of me attacking! Let's face it, Halloween is cursed, and this year I'm ready for it! He does have a point. The season of spooks does seem to have it out for him. So this time, bring it on! I got lots of guns and I'm not afraid to use them! You are overreacting though. You don't have to hang around here. You could come with us and go trick-or-treating or go to Halloween parties.
I was not invited to any parties.
Don't worry, you're my +1 for Michael Bublé's shindig. We have a standing bet for whoever can come up with the best Halloween costume. He has won 5 years in a row now, and I intend to break that streak.
What are you doing this time?
That's what I need you guys for. I'm out of ideas. Last year, I went as the entire Pokedex. I sewed 809 plushies onto a suit.
How'd he beat you?
He sewed every Digimon into a suit. That's like over 1,000, I think.
Wow. That's impressive.
I know, right? So come over here and help me figure out how I'm gonna one-up modern-day Bing Crosby, kid. Oh, no. I am not leaving this room until I know that Halloween is defeated.
Come on, Linkara. There's nothing to be afraid of. If you're not going to help Harvey with his costume, help me with mine. I want to look good when I go out for candy.
Can you even eat candy?
I can drink coffee, so I'm pretty sure I can eat.
Well, okay, I may have gone a little over the top. I know that Halloween isn't gonna really do anything. I guess you're right. We always had cats? We've always had cats. Well, duh, of course we have.
Now get over here and help me pick out a costume.
Right, I'm coming. Hello, my friends. Please be sure to like this video, subscribe, hit the bell, and share it with others. And if you get a chance, maybe check out my Patreon.